Hi there, and thank you for joining XROM, which is India's first AR/VR MR focused podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Avil, and this happens to be the first episode of 2022. So, thank you to all of my listeners and subscribers, and wish you and your loved ones a very, very happy new year, and may all your dreams come true. I thought that I should take this opportunity and have a conversation with you because AR/VR MR is growing, and what we need is a cohesive community which I see lacking here in India. And you know what we need to do is bring you, the audience, the startup community, the academia, the government, the investors, and the marketing all together. And once they come together, the community itself will flourish, the ecosystem will flourish, and then finally we will have startups from India creating a global impact. So I request you to let me know which guest you would like to see next, what questions you might want to be answered. Please share the questions at the mail ID below, and let me know how and what can be done to improve the show. And like I said, not just improve the show, but also let me know what we can do together as a community to build a cohesive AR/VR ecosystem together. So thank you to all of my listeners and subscribers, and the ones who have just discovered the show. Kindly subscribe, support, and share, and ring the bell. With your help, we will be able to create a cohesive AR/VR ecosystem together. So happy New Year once again, and let's nurture and nudge India's AR/VR ecosystem together.
And today I'm delighted and honored to have with me Mr. Eran Or, who is the founder of XRHealth and the CEO of XRHealth Inc. So Eran, really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. So why don't we start with a brief introduction background?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm a former F-16 pilot in the Israeli Air Force, and I was diagnosed as suffering from whiplash injury due to the active flight in the G-forces. And during my own rehab, the idea came about to combine VR and rehab. That's how we got started. We were the first company, as far as we know, to register a VR application on the FDA records. We currently have 8 FDA Class 2 VR applications. And about 2 years ago, we also launched virtual clinics where we are treating patients remotely using virtual reality.
You mentioned that you personally went through a problem, and in the effort of trying to solve your own problem, you kind of extended and built XR Health. So would you like to talk a little bit about XR Health? How does it function?
Yeah, so we have around 70 employees. We have R&D back in Israel still. HQ is here in Boston. Virtual clinics in Michigan, Massachusetts, Australia, and Israel. And patient can sign up on our website. One of our clinicians will do a video call to make sure that they are suitable to use virtual reality, and they can get treatment using virtual reality. Then we're shipping them a headset pre-installed with medical software, no gaming, no entertainment, just medical related applications. They're getting the headset, downloading a mobile app that guides them how to use the VR for the first time, and then they're conducting virtual reality treatment completely remotely, where the clinician have the ability to transport the patient to different types of virtual treatment rooms, which are basically VR games. And after every session, there are full analytics. So both the patient can see their statistics and the clinician can see their statistics and the outcomes. So that's basically how it goes.
You say you are the first startups that's been doing VR healthcare. What's been the results from the patients that who has signed up through VR Health?
We are seeing amazing results. We have patients using the device over 3 hours a week. We are conducting multiple clinical trials and also capturing all the outcomes from our own virtual clinics. In some cases, patients even told us that they're using the VR instead of taking a pill or use the drugs. I haven't mentioned that, but we are focusing on chronic conditions. So most of our patients are chronic pain, Parkinson's, MS, post-stroke, autistic kids, stress, anxiety. Those are the conditions that we see very, very good success in.
Lovely. So talk to me a little bit about the science behind this. When you say that you're using virtual reality for chronic cases, what's the science behind it? You said it helps. Could you get a little bit into the detailing? How does it help? And I mean, kind of break it down. I mean, break it down into like each specific illness or a chronic case that you deal with, and what have been the benefits. So the audience can try and simplify it.
VR is a unique platform because it's a closed loop system. Once you put a VR headset on, you are stepping into a computer generated environment where the patient in that case is the only variable in that closed loop system. You can manipulate the environment and you can constantly see how the patient is reacting to those changes. And that allows us to capture data and to change in real time the virtual reality environment based on the patient performance. And the data is clean and actionable. So for all the neurological disorders where you want to see if the patient is improving or not, that's very, very valuable. Besides that, because it's so immersive and we can hijack the brain, and that's why a lot of people are getting really scared or bouncing into walls and all the videos that you probably see on social media. We are using the power of immersiveness to actually treat the body. So our brain is a very powerful tool in coping with different types of injuries or diseases. And VR take it to the next level. So it's basically a replacement for all cognitive behavioral therapy, guided meditation, and all those things that we know for thousands of years that it's working. But VR takes us to the next level because you can control everything.
I do understand that virtual reality has the capabilities of tricking your motor cortex into kind of believing that the virtual is real. But get into a little bit more detailing, be a little bit more specific, like maybe if there is a specific chronic illness, how does this tool or platform of yours benefit the patient?
So I'll give you several examples.
Yeah.
One of our applications is a specific application for hot flashes for women. So we are transporting the patient to a cold environment, with ice and snow, where she can actually see her breath. And that immediately activate our brain to think that we are in a cold environment, and that immediately help them cope with the hot flashes. On the neurological disorders, a lot of the exercise and the measurement that need to be done when when you have Parkinson's or MS, it's not engaging. And it's not fun. So we are putting the patient in a circus, giving them two virtual swords in their hand, and they need just to pop balloons or to match colors with their boxing gloves. And that immediately turned the entire measurement and treatment to a game, which is fun and engaging for the patient, but also provide good data for the clinician. We have application for pain management that, again, it's different types of environments where you use different types of techniques to step into your body. For example, with one of our partners, you can step into your body and fight the pain from within your body. So again, there's a lot of options how to use this immersiveness in order to, again, hijack the brain to treat the body.
Let's take pain management because and try and kind of break it down, because I remember I had seen this virtual reality experience. This was years back, and I think O&M had done this a program. This was for kids who are scared for taking these vaccine shots. So what that virtual reality program was, where the kid sees. I mean, as soon as you dock the headset on, you get into this virtual environment, and there's a superhero who comes and it tells you that you are also a superhero and you are very strong, and it's kind of aligned with the doctor, the way the doctor is kind of standing right next to the kid, and when the superhero is kind of like, giving you the injection, that's the same time when the doctor kind of injects the child, and the child does not feel the pain because he's enjoying the process. So can you talk a little bit more about, maybe sharing some examples like that so my audience can understand?
Yeah, so what you just described, that's one example, but it's usually a short term, right? There's a difference between distraction, where you want to distract the patient from an unpleasant situation like a shot or in the OR, then and compare that to long-term care to actually provide better outcomes. Think that different types of activities or actions that help chronic conditions. And then obviously it's far more complex, right? Because distraction, we know it's working. You can do different types of distraction in order to solve that immediate need. To actually provide care for a long period of time, to actually see the patients getting better, that's far more complex. And what we're trying to do is to create multiple virtual reality treatment rooms for a variety of use cases and conditions, where the clinician can transport again the patient from different rooms. All those rooms are supposed to be fun and engaging, obviously. We don't need to constrain ourselves to the real world environment. But the way that we envision the near-term future is that today you are stepping into a hospital, you have multiple rooms, multiple departments, right? Multiple clinicians for a variety of use cases. You can find yourself as a patient getting treated on the third floor, and then a week after on the fourth floor, and vice versa. So that's what we're trying to build, just in a virtual environment. So you'll put a headset on and you'll have limitless treatment rooms for a variety of use cases, but less, again, distraction, more on the treatment side.
Lovely. So basically what you are trying to do is taking the brick and mortar away and making it into a virtual platform,
Exactly
where any and every health issues can be accessed, and maybe you have your clinicians who will be assisting and helping you through this. How difficult was it for you to build a platform like this? Because this is not like a very simple platform. A, you need to build content, the virtual reality content. B, you need to have a headset. It's a 6-DOF headset or 3-DOF headset. You need to find customers. You need to align with your doctors and channels. So talk to us about the journey as an entrepreneur to build this entire platform and these content that you're building. Do you have scientists, doctors who are working with you, and you're building content, aligning with them?
It's more complex than even what you described, because the healthcare industry is a highly regulated environment, meaning that you have to comply with all the regulation, not just the device, the clinician, HIPAA, security, encryptions, liabilities. It's a very, very complex ecosystem, and probably the most complex for an entrepreneur. I think healthcare and defense are probably the most complex environments to create innovation. Now, on top of that, as you said, to develop content that have different types of clinical rationale. You need the game designers on the one hand, right? That most of their job is to develop games and environments and VR applications, but you need to have a strong clinical team, physician, clinicians, scientists, to make sure that what you're building makes sense and it's not just a relevant game. And then you need to combine all of those in a suite of regulation. You need to understand what the regulation is all about, and you need to make sure that you are compliant with that. And then you need to find customers and to find someone that will actually pay for that. And then there's distribution channel. And then you have customer support and technical support. Very, very complex, especially in a high tempo evolving technology like virtual reality. And when we started, the first application was on the Google Cardboard, phone-based on Samsung 5, I think, or whatever that Samsung device. And then we switched to a PC-based devices, the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive. And I think we got it took us 6 years, but we are close to a tipping point where the market is ready because of COVID. A lot more people are open-minded to use this technology, but also the technology got to a tipping point where the standalone headsets are good enough, the 6DoF are good enough, the setup is efficient, it's relatively affordable now, but it was a very long and complex process to get us here.
Why ship the virtual reality headset? I know that it plays such a crucial role. I mean, obviously, when you said earlier that, I mean, when you started with a Samsung a cardboard headset where you could dock your phone inside, and then like an HTC Vive. But the PC does not make sense because you cannot ship it out to your customers. But right now we have the options of your 3DoF or 6DoF headsets, which are untethered. Why take the headache of sending a virtual reality headset along with it, and what's the payment model, and what's the customer strength at this point in time?
So most of our patients are not gamers. They don't go to Best Buy to buy the Oculus Quest. They want a solution for their problem. Accidentally, VR is a good solution, but the average age of our patients is 65. Most of them are not tech savvy. They are not gamers. They want something to help their condition. And we found that in order to enable them to get our services, you need to solve all the logistics problems and to solve the last mile. It's just, if someone is in a need for a VR treatment back home, we can't tell them, go to Best Buy, buy the headset, and then come back to us, we'll treat. It's like, it's not working. And so we decided again to take the burden and solve all the problems in order to enable a patient to get treatment. And that's how we are operating today. So we spend a lot of money and a lot of time in order to, what we believe, to fix all the problems in the channel, right? To everything that and at some point, we stopped even investing in developing of the specific app because that wasn't the issue. The issue was to solve all the pieces in the puzzle to enable VR treatment with a relevant business model.
Lovely. So yeah, I mean, it takes a brave entrepreneur to, set up the entire ecosystem, because an entrepreneur, I mean, most of the time, we go for the low hanging fruit because it gets easier. You're trying to solve the entire ecosystem, and I believe that maybe in the near future, when the access becomes a little better, and we have VR headsets which are maybe as light as this, this would be a game changer, because the healthcare itself, that there is, I think it's not just the healthcare. I think everything needs a complete change, right from your education institutes, your healthcare. We are stuck with hundreds of old traditional institutions and organizations, and when the world has moved into the future, so we need to look at these technologies and tools to create better healthcare, better education, and better life for us. I was going through your LinkedIn page, and you mentioned that Metaverse could play a huge role for the healthcare. Would you like to kind of explain that?
The world will find himself in a metaverse type of environment. Again, probably not like in Ready Player One, that's all you do, but I think it will be some kind of a combination where you will have your real life, but you also have some kind of a metaverse environment that you will step into, I don't know, once a day or in any frequency that. Now, in assuming that's where we are heading, I believe that a lot of the healthcare services you'll be able to access those in that metaverse environment. And if there's no need for someone to actually be in the same room with you, then it will be conducted through a metaverse type of technology. And it's not just the VR itself, but think about it that we can incorporate any type of sensor, biofeedback or different type of sensors, to allow us to assess the patient status remotely, completely remotely. And I think that's where we'll find ourselves, where the outpatient as we know it, the clinics, the brick and mortar clinics, will be replaced by metaverse type of clinics.
In the next few years, or maybe this decade itself, the world which will be digitized, and that digitized world will have humongous benefits. Even right now over here also, or post-COVID, there's these traditional brick and mortar education institutes have moved on to complete online online schools, and they're almost the same thing that's offering that what's offered at the brick and mortar education, which are like but these online schools are 10 times cheaper with the same kind of value. So I think in the next 10 years we will see a huge shift into accessing benefits of healthcare or education or remote work, leveraging the digital option, the digital way. And I think it's not going to be just one technology. There's artificial intelligence, there's going to be IoT, there's going to be scanners, there's going to be wearables, there's going to be blockchain. And I think once it all kind of converges, there'll be real world value. I was on your LinkedIn page again and again. There was this that you had tied up with Meta, Facebook, as a partner. So would you like to talk a little bit more about that, your partners?
So we are trying to work with all parties, with all players. It's still a relatively small ecosystem. There's not a lot of players. I think now that Facebook became Meta, that accelerated a lot of things in the industry, right? But our goal is to work with all parties involved. All the VR, AR manufacturers, all the players. I think we have to work together as an industry in order to actually succeed in changing the market as we know it. And I think that's the interesting thing. And just to echo what you said, think about what it would do to, even especially in a country like India, right? Think about access to care. People in India, I'm assuming there are a lot of places in India where people don't have good access to care, right? They need to drive hours and hours in order to see a physician, a clinician. With this type of technology, suddenly everyone are equal, right? Everyone can get amazing access to care if we'll be able to, do what we're planning on doing. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this technology. It takes down the physical barriers and constraints that we had in the last, thousands of years, and suddenly everything is open to everyone. And that's, I think, the power of the technology.
Right. Yeah. I completely double that, because India is a huge country, 1.3 billion people, and we have a problem when it comes to education, healthcare. It's the privileged few, and the ones who are urban dwellers have access to quality healthcare or education. Then you go into the interiors, the rural areas, and they're deprived of quality healthcare. With technologies and tools such as this, like virtual clinic, people sitting any part of the world could access quality healthcare. Now, for those doctors, hospitals, healthcare professionals sitting here in India who want to know a little bit about XR Health and how XR Health can benefit them, could you kind of give your pitch?
So first of all the information is on our website, xr.health. They are more than welcome to take a look, and also medical papers, and we're adding more as we speak. On the academic and academic ecosystem and the different types of clinical data, I think we need to do. there are more than 1,000 articles showing the benefits of VR in healthcare from different groups, different hospitals, different rehab centers. But having said that, we're still seeing very slow adoption. I think it's not just related to the VR. I think all healthcare providers worldwide it's very hard to change workflows and to have healthcare facility adopt new technology, because those organizations are working around the clock trying to serve all the people that are in need. And I think that's the biggest challenge, for us as a company, and also as a new technology, is what kind of actions we can take in order to accelerate adoption. If there are physicians or clinicians hearing this podcast, we need and looking for those innovative physicians and clinicians that are more forward thinkers, and hopefully they will be the ambassadors of this technology internally within those organizations.
Right. You mentioned that change does not come easy, because all the workflows are kind of tradition, and these new technologies or tools push us to completely upend and relook at how we function traditionally. But I'm sure there are more and more data showing that virtual clinics has more benefits, and virtual clinics can create more access to everyone around the world. So talk to me a little bit more about this virtual reality healthcare. When do you see a larger adoption of XR health? And
so I think it's just a matter of time. I think, again, COVID accelerated a lot of things for us also. And it's in the healthcare arena, you need to build credibility, because there are a lot of people claiming a lot of things, and people are usually skeptical about the actual outcomes. And what we're trying to do is, again, first convince the market by doing and conducting clinical trials, showing the data, the real outcome, but also letting patients, express what and tell the world about their experience. And I think with every patient that we are enrolling, we are taking another step forward for mass adoption. And at some point, we will get to a tipping point where it won't be a discussion anymore whether VR treatment is a valid tool and virtual clinics are actually making a difference or not. It's just a matter of time now.
Right. How's the ecosystem support for what you're doing? You pretty much a well-funded startup, but you're exploring crowdfunding. Why crowdfunding?
I believe in crowdfunding. I think that everyone should have access and the ability to invest in startup they believe in. And from the first day I established this company, with every funding round that I did with an institutional investor, I opened a crowdfunding opportunity for the crowd to invest and participate. I think that the funding ecosystem as it's being structured today gives the power only to the people that have the means to participate in the next unicorns of the world. And the crowdfunding channel allow everyone to participate. I just believe that's the right thing to do, and that's the right approach for a company like us.
Rafael Grossman, he's one of the pioneers in the XR space, and he's recently joined your team. What does he bring on board, and what's going to be the roadmap ahead once he's onboarded?
So he's one of the most innovative physicians I know. He was the first surgeon to use Google Glass. And on a general note, we are trying to bring on board as many visionaries as we can to help us make the vision a reality. So that's the idea across the board. Again, we need people that are believers, and they are taking actions to make our vision of the metaverse and the healthcare and the virtual treatment rooms and make it a reality.
Lovely. Eran, thank you for being part of the podcast. And you said, yeah, it takes believers. You're a believer. You started this and you have kind of laid down the foundation of what could be the building blocks of healthcare built on the metaverse, where access to healthcare, which will not be limited only for those economically blessed or privileged few who living in the urban areas, but everyone and anyone an equal access. I wish you and the team the very best. You started, you said like six years back. What would be your next 6 years goal? What is it that you would want to achieve in the next 6 year or 10 years as a company?
So I think success for us will be to turn this vision into reality, improve access to care to everyone from their comfort of their home inside a new metaverse world, and enable at the end of the day better care for more people.
Lovely. Eran, thank you for taking time and being part of the podcast. Wish you and the team the very best. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button. Until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Eran. Really appreciate this.
Thanks for having me.